Title: A Beacon of Hope. The day kindness changed everything. It was barely dawn when Ronald James parked his old, battered sedan in the farthest corner of Oxbridge Academy's parking lot. A spot he chose every day, tucked away to avoid drawing attention to its peeling paint and dented bumper. The engine gave one final cough before dying, and as Ronald exhaled deeply, he gripped the steering wheel as if to remind himself that every day was a new chance to make ends meet. Ronald's morning routine was simple yet full of quiet dignity. He retrieved his well-worn thermos from the passenger seat, patted the dashboard gently, as if thanking his faithful car for one more day, and stepped out into the cool, early morning air. Outside, the world was hushed except for the soft chirping of birds and the distant hum of a delivery truck. For Ronald, these first moments of the day were precious. They offered him a brief respite of peace before the inevitable chaos of a long day's work. Inside the school, Ronald pushed his trusty cleaning cart along the quiet, empty corridors. Every classroom he entered, every hallway he passed, received his meticulous care. The polished floors glimmered under the overhead lights, a testament to his dedication. Though many never noticed his efforts, Ronald took pride in every small act, greeting students by name, offering a warm good morning to everyone, and sharing a kind word even when his body ached from hours of scrubbing and mopping. To the students, he was simply Mr. James, a friendly, constant presence who made the school feel like a home. Yet outside these well-kept walls, Ronald's life told a different story. He had grown up in a small, humble town in Florida where opportunities were scarce. Losing his wife to cancer a decade ago had shattered his world, forcing him into the dual role of caregiver and provider for his two children. Every morning, the battered sedan served as a reminder of the sacrifices he made. Some days, the car wouldn't start at all, and he had to rely on borrowed rides or long, arduous walks to get to work. Still, he held on to hope, one day at a time. Unbeknownst to Ronald, his quiet resilience had not gone unnoticed. Among the students at Oxbridge Academy was Barron Trump, a reserved, thoughtful young man who had always been a little different from his peers. While others chatted about trends or bragged about luxurious vacations, Barron observed the small details that many overlooked. Over time, he began to notice Mr. James's unwavering dedication. The warm smile he offered despite the exhaustion in his eyes, the careful way he polished every floor, and the silent determination in his every movement. Barron saw in him a quiet hero, one whose story deserved to be told. It began with subtle observations. Barron noticed how every morning Ronald arrived early, coffee thermos in hand, and took the same modest parking spot, as if it were a ritual meant to ground him for the day ahead. He saw Ronald fix a broken locker handle before any student had even mentioned it. At first, it was just an ordinary act of diligence. But as days passed, Barron's curiosity grew. He wondered about the life of a man who, despite his hardships, carried on with unassuming grace. How long had Ronald been enduring these struggles? What sacrifices lay hidden behind that warm smile? One chilly afternoon, as Barron waited for his ride after school, he witnessed a scene that etched itself in his memory. Across the parking lot, Ronald was hunched over the hood of his car, tools scattered around him, working diligently on his sedan that had stalled once again. A thin plume of smoke rose from the engine as Ronald's sleeves rolled up, his hands smeared with grease. He worked tirelessly under the soft glow of a fading morning sun, muttering under his breath and occasionally wiping his forehead with a rag. When the car finally sputtered back to life, Ronald's relief was palpable, but so was his exhaustion. That image of a man fighting against his own circumstances stayed with Barron long after the day ended. Deeply moved by what he had witnessed, Barron resolved to learn more about Mr. James and to help him in any way he could. He began engaging with Ronald during quiet moments in the corridors. One day, Barron mustered the courage to approach him. Catching Ronald by the lockers while he was fixing a broken hinge, Barron asked softly, "Hey, Mr. James, need a hand?" Ronald looked up, surprised but warm, and replied, "Well, hello there, young man. I think I've got it, but I appreciate your offer. Encouraged, Barron lingered a little. You're always fixing things, aren't you? Do you ever get tired? He asked with genuine concern. Ronald chuckled, a deep, resonant sound that carried years of hardship and resilience. Of course I do, but someone's got to do it right. Besides, there's something satisfying about making things work again. Over the ensuing weeks, as Barron spent more time observing and speaking with Mr. James, he learned about the janitor's life. The long hours, the constant struggle with an unreliable car, the deep loss of his wife, and the daily sacrifices he made for his children. Ronald's stories were imbued with quiet sorrow and steadfast hope. When asked why his old sedan was always on the brink of giving up, Ronald would simply say, "It's all I've got, but I manage one day at a time." This simple admission struck a chord with Barron, who realized that Ronald's hardships were not isolated incidents, but a reflection of a systemic neglect that many in society faced. Determined to make a difference, Barron brought the idea to his parents one evening over dinner. As he pushed his food around his plate, he said, "I want to help Mr. James. His car barely runs, and he works so hard every day at school without ever asking for anything. I think we should do something big for him." His father, after a thoughtful pause, agreed. "That's a big gesture, son, but if we all pitch in, we might just be able to help him out." Barron's eyes lit up with resolve. "I want to get him a new car, a reliable one that doesn't leave him stranded every morning. Not just for him, but for the example it sets. It would show that his hard work and kindness are recognized." Barron began quietly sharing his idea with trusted classmates during lunch. "You know Mr. James, the janitor? I think we should help him get a new car," he confided in hushed tones. Initial reactions ranged from surprise to genuine enthusiasm. Slowly, the idea spread through the school. Teachers, staff, and even the school counselor joined in, moved by the thought of honoring a man who had touched so many lives with his quiet dedication. In a remarkable display of community spirit, a plan was set in motion. Barron's parents reached out to a local car dealership with his heartfelt plea. Touched by the story, the dealership manager offered a significant discount on a brand new red Jeep SUV, promising to cover the remaining cost if necessary. With the financial support beginning to coalesce, the plan grew beyond a mere idea. It was becoming a concrete project. Friday arrived with palpable excitement. The entire school buzzed with whispers about the surprise assembly plan for that day. Preparations were in full swing. Students painted a giant banner in the school's colors that read, "Thank you, Mr. James," while teachers coordinated logistics behind the scenes. Barron rehearsed his speech late into the night, determined to express exactly how much the janitor meant to everyone. As the assembly hall filled, the atmosphere was electric. Students, teachers, and staff gathered, their faces lit with anticipation. Among them sat Ronald James, who had, as usual, arrived early in his old sedan. He parked in his familiar spot at the far end of the Oxbridge Academy lot, unaware that today was different. He was greeted with warm smiles and friendly nods as he made his way into the school, his routine unchanged, but something in the air hinted at the extraordinary. When the assembly began, the headmaster took the stage with a warm, inviting smile, welcoming everyone and hinting that the day would be special. Then Barron Trump, his voice steady despite the nerves, stepped up to the microphone. "I'm here today because there is someone in our school who truly deserves recognition," he began, his gaze sweeping across the crowd before landing on Ronald James. "Mr. James is not just our janitor. He's the person who ensures our classrooms are spotless, who fixes things before we even know they're broken, and who greets us every day with kindness, even on the hardest mornings." The auditorium fell silent as Barron continued. "We've all seen him, working tirelessly, never asking for anything, always with a smile that brightens our day. Today, we want to give back a fraction of what he has given us." At that moment, a wave of anticipation rippled through the hall. Ronald, seated near the back, turned his head slowly, his tired eyes meeting the earnest, determined gaze of Barron. Then came the big reveal. As the headmaster signaled, the side doors of the auditorium opened to reveal a gleaming red Jeep SUV, freshly washed and resplendent in the bright morning light. A giant banner hung above it, proudly displaying "Journey to Hope" in bold, uplifting letters. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause, and Ronald's face, etched with years of hardship, transformed into one of disbelief and overwhelming gratitude. Ronald stood frozen for a moment. His heart pounded as he stared at the car that symbolized not only a practical gift, but also the recognition of his daily sacrifices. Barron stepped forward, his voice soft yet resolute. "Mr. James, this is for you, from all of us who see and appreciate your hard work. You deserve a reliable ride, so you never have to worry about getting to work again." The moment was electric. As Ronald slowly approached the stage, tears welled in his eyes. The audience's cheers faded into a respectful silence as he accepted the keys with trembling hands. I don't know what to say," he managed, his voice thick with emotion. This is more than I ever expected." Then, drawing strength from his inner reserves, Ronald spoke. "After losing my wife, every day felt like a struggle. I've always done my job quietly, believing my efforts went unnoticed. But today, you have shown me that kindness and hard work are seen, that I am valued. Thank you." The applause that followed was thunderous. Students, teachers, and staff alike rose to their feet, their faces reflecting the profound impact of the moment. Even Barron, usually reserved, couldn't hide a look of quiet triumph. Later that day, as Ronald drove the new Jeep smoothly out of the parking lot, a far cry from his old sedan, his children, who had joined him on stage, cheered with pride. The transformation was not only physical, but deeply symbolic. A community had come together to celebrate the unsung hero among them, reminding everyone that even the smallest acts of kindness could spark extraordinary change. In the days and weeks that followed, the story of that assembly spread like wildfire. Social media buzzed with heartfelt messages. Local newspapers carried headlines praising the students' initiative, and the event ignited a broader conversation about recognizing and uplifting those whose everyday sacrifices often go unnoticed. Barron Trump's thoughtful challenge to indifference had sparked a movement within Oxbridge Academy and beyond that celebrated human dignity, community, and the transformative power of compassion. For Ronald, the new car became a daily reminder that his efforts were not in vain. Every morning, as he drove to work, he recalled the warmth of the cheers and the sincere gratitude in the eyes of the people he had served for so long. The assembly had not only given him a practical gift, but had also restored his faith in the goodness of people. In that moment, every struggle, every long day of hard work, and every sacrifice was validated. This isn't just a story about a janitor receiving a car. It's a tale of community, of bridging gaps between the unnoticed and the celebrated, of how one person's quiet dedication can inspire an entire community to come together. It's a reminder that even in a world often focused on grand achievements, the simplest acts of kindness and the courage to recognize them can lead to life-changing moments. If you believe in the power of small acts of kindness, remember Ronald James's story. Every gesture of appreciation, every shared smile, and every effort to help can create a ripple effect, transforming lives and reminding us that in the face of hardship, hope is always within reach. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that inspire and remind us of the true meaning of community.